So with us tonight is Dena Kauffman, who is the current fair treasurer and has been the treasurer since 2003. So welcome, Dena.
Thank you.
So Dena, you've been a lifelong resident of Oley. You've been around the fair pretty much from day one with when you were born. Tell us a little bit about what do you remember as a kid at the fair?
I really remember, as a lot of people have mentioned, the freedom that you had when you were at the fair. You had to check in with your parents once or twice a day, but for the most part, you kind of came to the fair, you just ran around for the day, hung out with your friends, and recapped at the end of the night and left until the next day. I do remember during some setup times, the commercial exhibit building used to be pretty empty or completely emptied out prior to the fair starting. I remember driving our truck through the commercial exhibit building and hanging the tarp down the middle in order to break off the one side to the other. But before they did that, we would always bring our bikes or big wheels along, and we'd always be racing around inside the commercial exhibit building while they were getting ready to clean it out. They would bring fire trucks in and hose down the building every year, and then we'd bring the truck in and drive it down. But before they did all that, we could race our big wheels and bikes around in that building beforehand. I also remember the contests were always a big part. I loved doing contests with my friends. Do bale throwing. I could remember barely being able to lift the bale and chucking it maybe 2 feet. But the biggest contest I remember was the log sawing contest. Another friend of mine, Karen Grebe, and I, she was smaller than I was, and I wasn't very big at the time. We would always do the log sawing contest every year, and it would probably take us 4 to 5 minutes to saw our way through the log every year, but every year we always did that log sawing contest. As well as some years we did apple peeling, we did corn shelling, and they also had a donut eating or a pie eating contest back then, but I wasn't big on blueberry pie, so I would not participate in that one. But those are the things that I really remember as a kid, as well as it being cold for those fairs. You'd always get out your winter coats, your winter clothing for that fair, because it was always chilly on those 3 days of the fair. I do remember the one year my husband first came, we had to work in the coffee stand because it was so cold and they didn't have enough help in the coffee stand and everyone was buying coffee. And the very next year was kind of the year it flipped, and we had to work in the milkshake stand because they couldn't keep up with the milkshakes because it was so hot that next year. But since then, it's been pretty warm for most Oley fairs since that time in the mid-90s.
Great. So as I mentioned, you've been treasurer since 2003, which is a very important job with the fair. And just like everything else, there's been changes. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe how the treasurer job has changed from 2003 to now?
Well, even right before 2003, the treasurer was responsible and helped with the tabulation of things. And the entry system used to be all manual. So people would handwrite checks for everything that you won. So if you entered in the baked goods department, if you entered in canned goods, needlecraft, ag departments, the hay and grains, you got a separate check for each department that you entered in. So you literally had people in rooms sitting there writing checks for a couple days. In 1998, we decided to computerize those items. And what that involved was a group of people who had some affiliation with the fair decided to write us a custom program in order to do the entry check-in. But one of the biggest things we didn't want to lose to that computerized program was we didn't want people to have to pre-register for their entries. So they helped us write a program that people could still come on Tuesday and Wednesday evening with their item right there and get an entry tag right then and there. So we gave people blank entry tags, and each department was given a binder with a page of labels for every item you could possibly enter. So some, like the vegetable department, had a couple binder full of labels, and they would go down to the vegetable department, give them their entry tag, and they would put a label on for lima beans or a label on for tomatoes. For the first couple years, every night after people were done entering, we would be sitting there while they would rewrite this program till about 2 in the morning, and we would not get home till 2, 3 in the morning, so we had to come up and be back there the next day for judging because they were in the process of trying to write this computer program. It went well. All departments knew what to do, but then in 2007, we decided to switch to a canned program called MarTech that still allowed people to just bring entries in as they wished, but gave us a little more, it was a little bit better written program that did not allow us to have to be there till 2 in the morning each of those nights leading up to the fair, which led for a very long fair week when we were there that late. But once we switched to the MarTech system, the people now get one check for all their entries. We usually run those checks on Wednesday night, so by Thursday morning when they walk into the fair, they have their entry premium checks ready to go. Other than that, the other big things that happened as being treasurer was the treasurer was responsible for all the food sales that happen. And we used to have the ticket booths, the little chicken coops that would sit out in front of the refreshment building where people would go up and buy tickets. And then we would have to transport the money from those little chicken coops kind of out in the middle of nowhere back to the fair office. In 2015, we built permanent ticket booths on the front of the fair center. And what that allowed us to do was have a lot more control over the money coming in and out of the fair. We didn't have to walk through the fairgrounds with that cash anymore because the fair office was directly connected to the ticket booths, which just allowed a lot better security. We also have security cameras in that building to help monitor the money coming in and out, as well as people buying tickets to make sure we have no issues. And then the other thing we added in 2018 was we allow people to now use credit cards to buy tickets. In the past, everything was always cash only, but now, starting in 2018, we did allow some credit card sales, which have slowly increased, but people still know that, or used to remember that you always needed cash at the Oley Fair, so most people still do bring their cash and buy tickets using cash, because you do need tickets in order to purchase any of the food items on the fair. We do require food tickets, just to make it more secure that we don't have everyone in each refreshment building, French fries, hamburgers, hot dogs, handling all the money coming through. They just need to handle the tickets. So it's just a little more secure on our end as well, not having that cash hanging out all over the fairgrounds.
Any other fair memories or anything you'd like to say?
Just going through high school and stuff, it was always neat being able to set up junior and senior class, setting up and the cake and cider stand, which has been a tradition for a very long time. It's just neat to see the community members and the kids in school getting excited about the fair every year, people coming back to the fair every year. It's almost like a mini homecoming for people. I know a lot of classes plan class reunions around fair time, or they just plan on meeting around the cake and cider stand for their class reunion. And it's just neat to see that people still get excited about coming to the fair, and that the kids still seem very excited every year that the Oley Fair is happening and that they get to participate, and people just schedule their lives around the Oley Fair and making sure that they can be free and come back for it. And I think that's just a neat part of the Oley Valley and what makes this such a great place to live.
Well, thank you for all you do. Thank you for all your efforts. And we look forward to having you continue on and helping out and making the Oley Fair the best it can be.
Thank you.